Okay, first of all, thank you for inviting me to attend the Arab EmTech conference. And I would like first to introduce myself. My name is Marwan Almarzooqi. I'm the IT director at Abu Dhabi Waste Management Center. I've been in the IT industry for more than 22 years across different industries, the telecom side, both terrestrial and satellite telecom, in the manufacturing, oil and gas, and in the government sector. I'll be talking today about LP1 technology. What is LP1? LP1 is, okay, there are more than one, if you do a search, you will find more than one terminology, okay, or one term. The most commonly used is LP1, but some refer to it as LPWA and others as LPN, so LP low power network or low power wide area network. What is it? This is a type of wireless telecommunications wide area network designed to allow long range communications at a low bit rate among things connected or objects, such as sensors operated on a battery. This was mainly introduced in the beginning of the 2000s for machine-to-machine, M2M communication and Internet of Things. Why is LP1 important in my opinion? Okay, I think this gentleman can give us an indication. I think some of you already recognized who's this. This is Sherlock Holmes. I've always been a big fan of Sherlock Holmes since I was a kid. He has a very famous quote in one of the novels. Of course, the character was created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So in one of his novels, he says, data, data, data. I cannot make bricks without clay. So it's all about data. If you talk about IoT, for any IoT implementation, there are three major components. The sensors themselves, which have been around for many years. Then you have the means of communication, and you have the back end, which is the system where the database and the system that where the data would be stored and analyzed later on. And that's the easy part. What were the challenges that usually faced in such implementations? One, if we are talking about the sensor side, the battery life for the sensor, because so that's affected differently by the power consumption. The other thing is the cost of transferring the data. I'll talk about the different types of LP1 technologies. Usually we can categorize them into two main categories: licensed, or what we call cellular, or unlicensed, non-cellular. Licensed because they are using licensed spectrum, and unlicensed because they use usually it's sub 1 gigahertz spectrum. For the licensed LP1s, the two mostly used or common implementations are NB, narrowband IoT, and LTE-M. For the unlicensed, there are so many, okay, but the most common are LoRa, and it is which is managed by the LoRa Alliance, and then we have Sigfox and Weightless. This is managed by the special interest group, the Weightless special interest group, and it is a standard. And then we have Ingenu. What are the main features of the LP1 technologies? Okay, first of all, long range. We're talking about here kilometers, from 5 kilometers up to hundreds of kilometers of some of the technologies. Long battery life. This addresses the issue of the battery life that we usually face, and it can range from 5 to 10 up to 15 years battery life, and at a very relatively low cost, of course, compared to using the GSM technologies, 3G, 4G, 5G, or previously 2G. What are the major cons or disadvantages of such technologies? One of it is the low data rate. We are talking about just few bits per second, up to a couple of megabits for the LTE-M and NB-IoT technologies. Another issue that usually is faced is the interference. This is mainly for the unlicensed, because you are using an unlicensed spectrum, and there's a lot of traffic there. So there's always a chance that if you are hungry at home and you want to heat up your pizza in the microwave, there is a chance that there will be an interference and you'll be losing some packets from your sensors. And then we have unidirectional transmission. This is mainly for the Sigfox implementation, where it's just it can receive, so it can send data, but it cannot receive it. Another problem that is usually faced is that these are of course I'm talking the unlicensed part. These are proprietary technologies. Sigfox is totally managed by Sigfox, the company itself, and they are the sole provider of all the sensors and the networking component for the LP1 implementation. For the LoRa, okay, although there's an alliance, there are multiple providers, but the main chipset is developed by a single company, which is called EmTech. So it is, we can call it half proprietary. So these are the advantages of the main disadvantages of LP1 technologies. Where can we implement, or what are the applications of LP1? The potential is endless. Whatever can be measured can be done almost, I would say, done through LP1. If we are talking about smart buildings and homes, there are sensors all around the house measuring different things, temperature, heaters, lighting, things like that. If we talk about asset tracking, just I think last year, DHL Germany signed a contract with Sigfox to monitor their boxes, for the delivery, hundreds of thousands of them, cages to be tracked in the agriculture, where you can monitor the irrigation systems, the growth of the plants, smart metering. Actually, this is the most commonly used implementation of LP1 for smart metering, talking about water, electricity, and gas. Smart lighting, part of the initiative for smart cities, where street lights can be monitored and controlled remotely. Even for livestock monitoring, there are implementations for that in manufacturing, health care monitoring, trash bins monitoring. This is something that we worked in Abu Dhabi Waste Management Center. We had a case, and currently we have around 154,000 bins across the whole Emirate of Abu Dhabi in UAE. And most of those bins are being collected on a daily basis. And this is done based on a fixed route. There's a monthly plan where usually the compactors go on a daily basis to follow their routes and collect the bins regardless of how full is the bin itself. So we did a demo where we put sensors in the bins that monitor how full is it, and through that sent the data, and by then instead of having fixed routes on a daily basis, then we could have dynamic routes that are generated every day. So instead of going around collecting and emptying all the bins, then just the ones which are full will be collected. Of course, I don't need to mention what kind of impact that might have. Definitely, we will have less trips for the trucks, so that definitely will improve the cost element. There won't be that much fuel burnt, less mileage, and especially in the crowded cities, there would be less traffic caused by these kind of trucks, and there would be definitely an very positive impact on the environment itself, with the less pollution that is generated. Just few, facts and predictions about LP1 technologies. Currently, most of the LP1 technologies, more than actually 90%, are based on 4 technologies: LoRa, NB-IoT, Sigfox, or LTE-M. So if you're going to, bet on a technology, it has to be one of those 4. The LP1 market grew by 109% in 2019, and although the growth slowed down a bit in 2020 because of the pandemic, but still it is picking up, and the growth is, expected for the next 5 years at least. The utility segment, we were talking about, smart meters, are the ones which are leading the market when it comes to LP1 implementations, mainly for water, electricity, and gas metering. Around 1/3 of worldwide implementations are in the utility segment. LP1 market size is expected to surpass $80 billion by 2027. So that's a huge huge amount, and that's why we should start thinking of how to utilize and benefit from the LP1 technologies and implement them. This is just a overview comparison between the different technologies. This is for the licensed. You can see that we have the different types of available networks. Okay, but this is a bit old, so 5G and 4G is not included. But if we go below, down, we have the LTE, NB1, and the M. You can see that the throughput is relatively low, but the power consumption is low too at the same time. This is one of the most important factors, and why LP1 was created from the beginning. And this is the unlicensed technologies. So we have the first two, which is LoRa and Sigfox. If you look at the power consumption is very low, and that's why the battery life of the sensors can be very high. The range, for LoRaWAN is 15, although they are currently experimenting with a new technology for LoRa, which can reach up to, I think, 800 kilometers. Sigfox, it's a maximum 50 kilometers for the time being, weightless, 5 kilometers, and give you 500 kilometers. And okay, I think that was very quick, but anyways, thank you very much, and I really appreciate your attendance. So if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Marwan. Let me check the web and web interface chat and the Zoom chat here. Our audience, please feel free to ask any question, drop it on the chat box, or unmute yourself and ask directly.
Okay. Am I still here? I ended this presentation, but I'm not sure if I'm still in the...
Can you hear me? I'm just checking the web. Yes, chat on the website, because we have 2 chats. The one on the Zoom here and another one on the website. Yeah.
No, because I ended the presentation and suddenly everything was away. So just to make sure I'm still online.
I have replied and encouraged the audience to ask questions either by dropping with the chat box or unmute themselves to ask the question directly to you. I'm just checking if there is a Q&A or any comment to the chat on the website. I don't have.
I hope they are not asleep.
No. Maybe you are. I think the presentation was very clear up to a point we don't have any question about to ask any unclear point about any unclear points.
I really hope so. Thank you.
My great pleasure.
You know, I try to make it as brief as possible. You know, it's 3 o'clock here
because
in
it's
UAE.
not it's not normal. Even me in technology, it's first time to hear about this, and I thought it's related to the network, because you know WAN and LAN and so I'm a technical with a technical background, so yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the emerging technologies, and the unfortunately in the Arab region the adoption is not very high. Even in UAE, we've just had our first implementation of LoRa, which is done by Abu Dhabi municipality here in UAE. We have implementations of the NB-IoT through the the GSM or the telecom operators, but the adoption is very slow. I don't think that they are seeing the potential of such technology. The impact would be very high. They say that you cannot improve whatever you cannot measure, and through this technology, the barrier of measuring things would be slashed. So it would be much more easier to implement sensors. I'm talking about like Tadweer, our case, our bins, the life expectancy of each waste bin it depends on the type, but from 2.5 years to 5 years. Usually the normal sensors will not last more than 2 to 3 months, but with the LP1 sensors they can reach up to 10 and 15 years. So definitely you will not have to replace any battery on any sensor in the bins. That will relieve us from a huge headache and a huge cost, and it's applicable to all other types of industries.
Yes, yeah, I see. But just I can recall a paper one of my friends worked on it. It's how they could use blockchain technology to determine if there is an attack on IoT device or not. So I'm just wondering or asking about how much it's secure against attacks compared to the traditional IT devices or the technology used now.
See, usually these are separate networks, okay, and it's not using different type of protocols, and it's not like the internet protocols where it's very commonly used and everybody is aware how to hack and how to identify the threats. It's still a relatively new technology. So far, there is, for most of the technologies except for Sigfox, there is encryption in the traffic. There is some kind of security, but it varies from one technology to another. But overall, so far, I don't think we've had cases of any hacking of LP1 networks, but will that happen? Definitely, it will happen when it becomes a mainstream thing. Then people will, hackers and the hacking community will focus on it, and then it will be targeted. So this is something definitely will be expected.
Yeah. Another question, I guess most of the audience might think about how much this technology is mature, because I'm in the blockchain domain, for example. 2 years ago, we can say the blockchain technology is not mature at all, and now we can say a certain part of the blockchain or certain network, it's somehow it's mature now.
It's a okay, although it's relatively new technology, but it is mature and is being used in real life scenarios. I think there are around 200. Yeah, in production, yes. As I said, DHL is using it in Germany to track their, the shipping cages, with which they put in their delivery trucks, where they put the items to keep track of them instead of losing them. In where was it? In China, I think. They've implemented, no, Japan, sorry. They've implemented to monitor, the meters, the water and electricity, or was it gas meters? I don't remember, but meters. So it is implemented. Currently, I think there are around 250 million devices connected through WAN networks and technology. So it is mature. It is to a certain degree reliable, and is ready for. It has been used for a few years now for commercial use.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just, as a blockchain developer, I'm so passionate about this. I'm just like searching for the intersection part, you know. I'm sorry about that. It's like my blockchain is very hard.
Definitely. See, you know, if you know, if we're talking about blockchain, I think it can be used for maybe more, you know, more towards open data platforms where you gather information from sensors. You know, if we're talking about smart city initiatives where you have open data that will be published, then I think that can be used, you know, with you know, to be integrated with a blockchain system where you can.
Yeah, the devices itself could be like converted to a node, blockchain node, and it's like we can have like,
you know more about blockchain than me, but definitely it can be used.
Yes, I have to admit, I'm a blockchain addicted, so that's why
That's obvious. That's obvious.
Thank you so much. Let me check if anyone wants to ask any question. Any question in the chat box? We have 2 minutes to go. Only. Well, we have 2 questions. The first one, Abdul Basit, say thank you. And he asked initiative business model test of success. He's like appreciating your good job.
Thank you very much, Abdul Basit. Really appreciate your words.
Thank you so much. Well, Mr. Marwan Almarzooqi, thank you so much for your time. It's a pleasure to have you, and thanks for accepting our invitation. Mr. Marwan Almarzooqi, IT Director at Tadweer. Looking forward to inviting you and attending your session in next Arab EmTech and Startup 2020, inshallah. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, man, and I really appreciate you having me here. And inshallah, this is although this is the first time, but it won't be the last time.
Inshallah, inshallah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.